The Veth Ascendant was the most advanced warship ever constructed. She was sitting dead in space with a drive failure that had stumped the finest engineering minds in the Keth Collective for 11 days. They called me because they'd run out of other options. I've built a career on being the last option. The Veth Ascendant was the most advanced warship ever constructed, 17 decks, a crew of 400 weapons systems that could sterilize a continent from orbit. She was also sitting dead in space with a catastrophic drive failure that had stumped the finest engineering minds in the Keth Collective for 11 days. I know this because they told me repeatedly, and in a tone that suggested they weren't sure why they'd called me at all. I'm a salvage operator. My ship is older than most of the crew's grandparents. My tools live in a bag that smells like machine oil and bad decisions. They called me because they'd run out of other options. I've built a career on being the last option. The drive chamber looked like a cathedral designed by someone who had never seen a cathedral, but had heard one described. Massive, gleaming, incomprehensible, and completely dead. 3 Keth engineers met me at the entrance and explained the problem in technical terms I mostly understood and partially didn't, which is fine, because I wasn't listening to the words so much as watching where they kept looking when they talked. Engineers always look at the thing that's wrong. It's a reflex. By the time they finished explaining, I already knew which component had failed. It was the third one from the left on the secondary coupling array. I fixed a version of that problem before. Not on anything like this. But the problem was the same problem. Here is what the finest engineering minds in the Keth Collective had missed. The coupling array had failed because a microfracture in the housing was allowing pressure to bleed off before it could complete the cycle. The fix they'd been attempting involved replacing the entire array, a part that didn't exist anymore, from a manufacturer that had been out of business for 40 years. I looked at the fracture for about 90 seconds. Then I opened my bag. The lead engineer asked what I was doing. I said I was fixing it. He asked what I was going to use. I held up what I was going to use. He said that was impossible. I said that was one word for it. Duct tape is a human invention that has no equivalent in Keth engineering, because Keth engineering philosophy does not include the concept of good enough for now. Everything is either correct or it isn't. There is no category for improvised, temporary, functional. I applied the tape to the fracture in 3 overlapping layers, sealed the edges with a chemical compound I carry for exactly this kind of situation, and reinforced the whole thing with a bracket I fabricated from a piece of my own ship's spare parts inventory. The engineers watched in complete silence. When I finished, I stood up and told them to try the drive. The lead engineer said nothing for a long moment. Then he said, "That is adhesive tape." I said, "Yes." He said, "The most advanced ship in the Keth fleet." I said, "Still yes." The drive came online in 40 seconds. Full power, no pressure bleed, all systems nominal. The Veth Ascendant's captain called down to the drive chamber and asked what had happened. The lead engineer started to answer and then stopped and looked at me, and I could tell he was trying to figure out how to explain it in a way that didn't sound like what it was. I told him he could just say a human fixed it. He said, "With what?" I said, "With what I had." He relayed this to the captain. There was a long pause on the channel. Then the captain said, "The ship is operational. Log it and let's go." That's the right call. How it got fixed matters less than that it got fixed. The Keth Collective offered me a consulting contract 3 days later. Permanent retainer, full access, significant compensation. I turned it down. My schedule is full, and I like working alone, and I've never been good at titles. But I kept the letter. Not because I'm proud of it, though I am. Because it says something I want to remember. It says your methodology, while unorthodox, achieved results that our most sophisticated approaches could not. I've been doing this work for 22 years. Unorthodox is what I am. Results are what I do. I've got a bag full of things that work and a lifetime of knowing when to use them. The galaxy keeps producing ships that need fixing. I keep showing up with my bag. That's the whole job. That's always been the whole job. If this one hit right, subscribe. We drop a new story every single day, and you do not want to miss what's coming next. And I want to hear from you. Drop your story idea in the comments. A job, a situation, a what if, just a sentence or two. We read every single one, and your idea might be the next video.